Next on Currents News, New York City voted to close Rikers, but now comes the hard part, replacing it with 4 smaller jails. The top cop says that will be dangerous. The Syrian ceasefire is off to a shaky start. Just hours in, there's word of new fighting. And a new study about the United States that might surprise you, most Hispanics here no longer call themselves Catholic.
Best father in the world.
A U.S. hero is finally being identified. He was there when the American flag was raised on Iwo Jima. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Emily Druby. Rikers Island is on the chopping block tonight. After years of back and forth, it's now official. City Hall is going to close the prison. But what comes next is causing a lot of controversy. Smaller jails in every borough except Staten Island. Rikers Island should be only a memory soon. The city council voting overwhelmingly to shut down the often criticized jail complex. The mayor is applauding the decision.
Because we believe in a justice system that focuses on the positive in each person, the humanity in each person, the possibilities in each person. We believe in redemption. And today's vote is a vote for redemption.
Now comes the hard part, replacing Rikers. The city is planning to create smaller jails in every borough except Staten Island, one in the Kew Gardens area of Queens, another in the Boerum Hill neighborhood of Brooklyn. In the Bronx, a prison would open in Mott Haven, and there's a jail set for Lower Manhattan. The city's top cop is worried about the plan. Police Commissioner James O'Neill saying, "I'm really concerned going forward with the reduced capacity that we'll be able to keep the city as safe as possible." The commissioner is talking about the number of cells for inmates. Right now, there's 7,200 beds at Rikers. With the smaller jails combined, only about 3,300 inmates could be housed at any one time. It's a concern shared by many critics, but Council Speaker Corey Johnson insists there will be enough space because of criminal justice reforms that kick in starting January. Commissioner O'Neill insists that no matter the number of beds, cops on the street won't change policing tactics to cut down the number of arrests. Brooklyn's Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio and other religious leaders are strong advocates for shutting down Rikers, saying the conditions found within the jail complex's walls robs the prisoners of their dignity, justice, and mercy.
Our brothers, our sisters.
The bishop and Cardinal Timothy Dolan joined other religious leaders at a press conference last month calling for the closure of Rikers.
It's very clear that the conditions there are poor. We need to do something, and unless we do it, it's going to stay the way it is.
Because simply put, we have to. We gotta. God has told us. He's told us Jews, us Christians, our members of Islam, to bring compassion, mercy, and justice to those who are incarcerated.
The deadline to close Rikers is slated for 2026. That means in the next 6 years, the city will have to build the new jails, deal with any pushback from the neighborhoods tapped to house them, shut down Rikers Island, and relocate thousands of detainees and corrections officers. Stay with us. Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio will be here, and he's a strong advocate for shutting down Rikers Island. He'll explain how the prison runs counter to church teaching. That's still ahead in this newscast. There's chaos in Syria tonight, bombs and shells falling all day, despite a ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Turkey. A key Syrian border town has been under fire. Kurds encamped there are accusing Turkey of trying to kill them. The Turkish president is insisting his military is observing the temporary truce, which is supposed to allow the Kurds to pull out. At the White House, President Trump said both sides want the ceasefire to work. The new battles in Syria are adding to the humanitarian crisis along the border. Catholics and other relief agencies are scrambling to ease the suffering. More than 200,000 refugees are on the run to escape the crossfire. The Christian aid program based in northern Iraq is being overwhelmed with people hoping to find refuge there. And the UN's relief agency has aided more than 30,000 Syrians so far, but that's only a fraction of people in need. The flood of refugees is expected to increase. The Syrian crisis and the battle over impeachment are fueling new tensions in Washington tonight. Karen Caifa reports there's been nonstop controversy all week, stretching from the White House to Capitol Hill.
A whirlwind week of clashes between the two ends of Pennsylvania Avenue over the impeachment inquiry and the Trump administration's moves regarding Syria.
We've had tremendous success, I think, over the last couple of days.
Questioned even by some Republicans.
Are we so weak and so inept diplomatically that Turkey forced the hand of the United States of America?
On Friday, the White House in damage control mode after Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney admitted Thursday that President Trump did hold back military aid to Ukraine to press the country into opening an investigation into Democrats.
We do that all the time with foreign policy.
Mulvaney later denied that's what he'd said, but the admission troubled members of both parties.
You're not supposed to use your position as an elected official to undermine, to ask a foreign entity to investigate a political rival.
It's certainly very, very serious and troubling.
Mulvaney's comments came as U.S. Ambassador to the European Union Gordon Sondland testified to lawmakers he was directed by the president to work with his personal attorney on Ukraine.
There is absolutely no justification for the president's personal lawyer having an influence on American foreign policy.
More witnesses in the impeachment inquiry are expected next week, with Democrats moving forward while mourning a key leader, House Oversight Committee Chairman Elijah Cummings, who passed away Thursday. In Washington, Karen Caifa, Currents News.
Now to a new study that may surprise you. There's a major shift being reported tonight in the faith of Hispanics. According to a new survey, the majority of Hispanics in the United States do not consider themselves Catholic. In a study done by Pew Research Center, Catholicism dropped in the last decade from 23% to 20% among American Hispanics. Protestants also dipped from 77% to 65%. The group that grew, those with no religion, or nuns. They went from 9% to 26%. Over at the Vatican, another huge meeting for the Amazon Summit just wrapped up. This one didn't bring controversy or arguments, but celebration. Rachel Dobrinsky reports on Pope Francis's meeting with indigenous leaders who call the Holy Father one of their own.
The children of the jungle praise you, Lord, the poor and forgotten with an eagerness to be free. Almost 40 leaders, mostly women of different indigenous Amazonian communities, greeted the Pope with this song. Pope Francis met with them to listen to their experiences and thoughts on the Synod. He also received many gifts, tokens of gratitude for the convening of the Synodal Assembly. This was one of the most striking and symbolic gifts. The Pope is indigenous, the Pope is Amazonian, they said to Pope Francis after putting these feathers on his head. During their meeting, the Pope explained that the gospel is like a seed that takes the characteristics of the soil that it grows in. This is why he stressed the importance of enculturation for communities to receive the proclamation of Jesus within their own cultures. Pope Francis also warned the indigenous leaders of the dangers of new forms of colonialism. This encounter ended with a group photo. In Rome, Rachel Dobrinsky, Currents News.
The Bishop of Brooklyn received a prestigious award last night, one even acknowledged by Francis himself. The Center for Migration Studies bestowed Bishop DiMarzio with the Lifetime Service Award for his long-standing dedication to immigrants and endless work advancing policies for their protection. The center is a think tank institute devoted to the study of migration, and Bishop DiMarzio is the chairman of the board. It's a place he has called home since he was a seminarian.
I've been working with them for probably almost the 50 years I'm a priest. I mean, I knew the founders, we worked with them.
So you would really be a different person today if it wasn't for them?
Oh, definitely. You know, this has been a big influence on me.
Couldn't ask for a better boss, a better partner, somebody that's more passionate about these issues and that's smarter about these issues, because he's both a church leader but also an academic.
Pope Francis imparted an apostolic blessing on the honor. The Holy Father is very familiar with Bishop DiMarzio's work. Bishop spent years as a member of the Vatican's Pontifical Council for the pastoral care of migrants and itinerant people. Faith, politics, and comedy on display for charity at the annual Alfred E. Smith Dinner. The host of the event, New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan. He offered the invocation calling on Jesus Christ.
We come together in your name on behalf of women and kids in need, in friendship, joy, love of God and country, grateful to be part of a 74-year-old tradition.
Over the years, the Al Smith Dinner has raised hundreds of millions of dollars for charity. The key speaker was former Defense Secretary James Mattis, who took a swipe at his ex-boss, President Trump, who once claimed Mattis was overrated.
He also called Meryl Streep an overrated actress. So I guess I'm the Meryl Streep of generals.
If tradition holds, next year's Al Smith Dinner will feature the presidential candidates. Stay right here. Up next, stories you'll only see on Current News. Bishop DiMarzio is here to explain why the Rikers Island prison needs to be shut down. It's a matter of morality. And he was there when the flag went up on Iwo Jima. Now, nearly 75 years later, we know his name. More now on tonight's top story, the closing of Rikers Island and what's going to replace the prison. The sprawling complex is being shut down in favor of smaller jails in every borough except Staten Island. Each one will be located closer to courthouses to cut down on transportation time. The new prisons are expected to be tall. Those in Brooklyn and Manhattan could reach a height of 300 feet. That's about 30 stories high. Brooklyn's Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio is a strong advocate for closing Rikers Island. Tonight he's with Ed Wilkinson explaining why closing the prison is the moral thing to do. Ed?
Thank you. Recently, Bishop DiMarzio stood side by side with Cardinal Dolan in opposition to the Rikers Island prison site in the East River there. Bishop, why did you and Cardinal Dolan decide to come out and take a position against Rikers Island?
Well, looking into the situation, we recognize that it's not a good prison. It has a capacity of 20,000. It's down to around less than 10 at this time. And it's not a place of rehabilitation. It's a place of incarceration. And all the indications are from people who work there, from outside, that it's not helping people being rehabilitated. Again, it's a temporary prison. There's people waiting trial, etc. And it's the studies have been done. You had Judge Levine there, who really did a great job of a commission studying it. I'm convinced of the evidence that this is an antiquated situation. It was built in 1929, I think, or 30, something like that. And it's just not working. And so smaller prisons near the courthouses where people have to go is probably the answer. Most of them are already there. Just the Bronx really is a problem because there's no place close to the courthouse there that they can use to build a prison. Some of the other ones will be rehabilitated or made bigger.
Isn't the proposal, though, to move some of these prisons into neighborhoods?
Yeah, well, going to the courthouses, as near as they can get to the courthouse, so that transporting them doesn't become a big issue. They have been transporting people from Rikers Island to all over the city, which is not an easy thing today in this city with the traffic. So again, it's a safety issue. People could escape, have all these problems. So it makes it a lot better in many ways. But the real issue is rehabilitation while they're in prison, not to waste time. It's not helping them. It's not a penitentiary. It should be someplace where they get rehabilitation.
This Rikers Island, it's in the East River and it's between Manhattan and Queens. Is it considered part of our diocese?
No, actually, it's the Archdiocese of New York. I don't know how they got it. You have to come through Brooklyn to get to where we have to go through Brooklyn to get to Staten Island too. So
That's right.
I don't know.
But we service it with the chaplain, don't we?
Actually, now one of our priests is going to be working there as a chaplain.
You talk about rehabilitation. I mean, it seems like rehabilitation doesn't go on in any of our prisons these days. It's really a place where people are punished. But the Catholic vision of prison serving for your time is really to rehabilitate people, isn't it? To give people another chance at life.
Exactly. I mean, that's restorative justice. We're looking to help people become better, to put them back into society, and not to keep them out. Now, there are some criminally ill people. That's a different case, but that's not everybody.
There seems to be a move like these days, not even to send people to prison for nonviolent crimes, that find alternatives to going to prison. Would we as a church support things like that?
I think so. I think that would be, sometimes it's a better alternative, depending on what the crime is. But again, for the most part, prisons don't seem to be the answer to most situations.
How did you and Cardinal Dolan get involved in this? Were you asked to intercede on this?
The judge came to the Choral, which is a grouping of religious leaders in the city, and asked us to take up the cause, to get involved, to educate ourselves first. We had the study situation, and then to do something.
Have you gotten any feedback on it from the public?
Not really, no.
So you're pretty well satisfied with what you and the Cardinal had to say?
Yeah, you know, again, if something is moved in the neighborhood and people don't like it, we may. But I think, as I say, there are already existing prisons there that they're going to be using. So it isn't like something new. It's just changing making them a little bigger, changing the structure of them a bit, so that they're close to the courthouses, and I think that's a key thing.
Great. Bishop, thank you for your insights on that. And now back to the news desk.
Thank you, Ed and Bishop DiMarzio. As for what's going to be done with the island itself, that's unclear tonight. An iconic image from World War II is being seen with brand new eyes tonight. For over 7 decades, the Marines thought they had named all the fighters in the famous flag-raising photo on Iwo Jima. That was until a woman from Iowa discovered an amazing secret about her father. Now a Pacific War hero is finally being recognized. Taylor Holt has the story.
This is my dad.
To Kay Maurer, he's dad, but she's recently come to know he's earned another title as one of the heroes in this snapshot of history.
To have the Marine Corps send this official letter, you know, they had talked to me on the phone a few times and said, yes, we agree, but to get the letters, I'm going to frame it.
She says it all began with a call 2 years ago from private historian Brett Westermeyer from Johnston.
He was the one who first figured it out.
From there, answers no one expected flooding in.
This one here is just in front of his home.
The findings Westermeyer raised and several other historians confirmed by the Marine Corps and FBI investigators were key to identifying Keller.
The researchers found these 2 pictures.
Okay.
And then that gave them, you know, all the identifying things about the way he was dressed.
Through extensive research, including facial recognition, they determined Keller had been mistaken as Private First Class Rene Gagnon for more than 70 years.
Now it's just, you look at it and go, whoa, that's my dad. You know, just how amazing is that?
Surreal, but not totally surprising.
He never, ever said one thing about anything to do with the war, period.
But Kay says she thinks he did tell family.
When Dad got home from the war, I'm sure he told my mom. Once in a while, somebody would say, didn't your dad raise that flag? And I would go, I don't know, or no.
All while the evidence was right there in their home.
So this is the side that you always see when you see the photo. Then if you turn and look at the back side, this is Dad.
She and her husband Steve say this recognition is an honor.
Right here.
But not everything.
The odds of him making it through this whole campaign and going home and being a normal person and having a family and having a normal life are infinitesimal.
Those flag raisers, in the context of being a flag raiser, those aren't the heroes. The heroes are every single person that put on a military uniform and puts their life on hold for our country.
With or without the recognition, the fond memories of her dad are always there.
What best father in the world.
That was Taylor Holt reporting. Unfortunately, Corporal Harold Kelly passed away in 1979 from a heart attack. He never got to see his secret revealed. Still, we thank and salute him tonight for his service. Still to come on Currents News, a Catholic deacon is helping kids stand up to bullies. But the martial arts lessons begin with Christ. We'll tell you how. History is made in outer space today, and President Trump takes notice with a very long-distance call. This October, the nation is fighting for the safety of its children. It's National Bullying Prevention Month, and advocates are spreading awareness of the dangers of bullying. The lessons are coming at a critical time. According to a new survey by the Centers for Disease Control, the rate of young people between the ages of 10 and 24 who have taken their own lives has skyrocketed by 56% over the last 10 years. That makes suicide the second most common cause of deaths for young adults, only outpaced by accidents. One deacon right here at home is helping kids fight back bullying. Dean Dobbins, a former police officer, is teaching a self-defense course, but it has a very important message. Before punches are thrown, turn the other cheek. Currents News' Tim Harfman has that story.
These elementary school students are performing all types of high-energy moves.
Front kick, snack kick, roundhouse.
With his purple and green belt tied around his waist, Caden Frankie recalls why he started taking martial arts lessons.
I wanted to learn to get exercise and to, well, pretty much defend myself.
That's the goal of this class, to defend yourself. October is most known as a time to raise awareness about breast cancer, but it's also a month dedicated to anti-bullying prevention. Deacon Dean Dobbins is the sensei. Not only is he an 8th-degree black belt in karate, but he's an anti-bullying advocate.
I believe that all children should not be a victim of bullying, and they all should know how to defend themselves if needed. I also say walk away from it when you can.
The deacon, along with other instructors, offers free classes 3 days a week. But as he serves his Fresh Meadows community, he also serves the church. A retired NYPD detective, Deacon Dobbins was ordained to the diaconate in 2015. He now ministers to Catholics at 2 churches in the Brooklyn Diocese, Our Lady of Mercy in Forest Hills, Queens, and St. Augustine in Park Slope.
In Matthew 20, Jesus says, I come to serve, not to be served. And I'm a servant of Christ, and I believe that highly. And I keep it in my heart, and I bring it to the people that way.
And these lessons seem to be serving these kids well if they come face to face with a bully.
You don't actually have to go interact with them. You could just go like, nope, I'm not going there.
You don't really want to continue the fight with them. What you want to do is you don't want to really hurt them.
And after a quick crash course, Deacon Dobbins even took time to show me a few moves. In Fresh Meadows, Queens, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
Finally tonight, astronauts making history, or should I say herstory. The first all-female spacewalk is now officially in the books. President Donald Trump congratulated them on their historic accomplishment.
What you do is incredible. You're very brave people. I don't think I want to do it. I must tell you that. But you are amazing people.
NASA astronauts Christina Koch and Jessica Meir spent over 5 hours outside the International Space Station replacing a broken battery charger. The unit was too far for robots to reach, so the women did the job. There's been more than 400 spacewalks conducted in the past half-century, but this is the first one with only female astronauts leading the way. What a great story of empowerment to end this week on. That is Currents News. I'm Emily Drewby. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.